Hey, Zer listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch.
It's very important if I have a child. I will take my child to the mosque. I will with me.
Right. Like, what do you think about if I don't convert and the child is going with you and then sees that I'm not, if I'm doing yoga and having a class and they're around just like Theron is in the morning, then...
Okay, this is good. So they're talking about having kids. She definitely wants to have kids. He says absolutely yes as well, but it wouldn't devastate him if they don't. And now they're talking about how they're going to raise the child, because this could be a deal breaker. It's important to work this out. Let's see how they talk about it.
If the child is more interested in what I believe and I'm doing, like...
I will teach my child my religion until they become like adult and they can choose to...
What if they choose to not...
So let me make something clear. My child, you can't get him.
Okay, I mean, it's good that they're working this out. So it's important that they communicate their wants, and given his track record thus far, this falls in line with that. And she shouldn't really be all that surprised by this, at least I think, based on what we've seen on the show. But that doesn't mean she has to go along with it. She can certainly say deal breaker, or let's talk about that, because I don't think that's a very good idea. So let's see how they manage. I'm worried, but less worried more as we go through the season, that she is going to become passive and subdue her needs and her wants. So let's see what she says.
Confused about his religion while I'm teaching him something.
Yeah, but you can't just like take me out of the equation if we have a child. What if they want to come? They say, I want to go with mommy or something like that.
No, it won't happen, because I will be around. Like, I will take them to the mosque.
Okay, so now she's in one of these pickles that she gets into often with him, where I'm pretty sure deep down she's like, I am not okay with that. If we have a kid and we both expose the child to our belief systems, and the child isn't into what you're doing and wants to hang out with me and doesn't want to go to the mosque anymore at say age 7 or 10, or because he was saying mosque and Islam until 18, and then he can make a choice for himself. And she is saying, well, what if earlier the child isn't into that? And so she's in one of those pickles where she has to say okay, because he's laying it pretty clear, which is, it's his point of view is pretty common around the world. It's not super common in the United States, but it's common enough in the United States. And her attitude is actually very common as well, particularly in the United States. So they're both fine to have this. But she's in that space where she's thinking, I don't want to do that, but I also don't want to lose him. And I'm pretty sure if I just flat out say no, I will lose him. So what do I do? Let's see what she does.
Well, that makes me like worry, because...
It's very simple. My child will be Muslim.
Okay, she started great. She's saying that makes me worried, I think she was going to say, because what if the child isn't into it, and I am forced to stand by or even participate in forcing the child to follow your religion and go to mosque and follow all that stuff? That makes me worried, because I don't want to watch my child go through that, and I don't want to have to do that to my child. But then he interrupted, and he says, well, let me be clear, my child will be Muslim. And I'm not resonating with that attitude, but I know a lot of people do, and they're entitled to that. If they were my clients, for example, I would have to actively push against my bias against him, because I think he's being rigid, but he's entitled to have that opinion, and he's making it very clear. So she has to make a choice. And I don't know, the more and more I watch this couple, I'm just like, why are you together? Because even if she agrees to this, could he really bank on her following it throughout the 18 years? Or could we imagine that she would either subtly or not so subtly undermine him in a variety of ways with the parenting, in ways that she feels is right, but never directly said, no, this is not going to work, or let him know, let Mohamed know that it wasn't going to work so that he could go home and not marry her. Does he really think that Yve's going to do that? So in either case, I don't think this is going to be a very good recipe for success. Now, if she's like, well, okay, I can deal with that, and maybe there'll be some bumps in the road, but okay, kid's going to be Muslim until 18. Maybe I'll warm up to Islam. I don't know. Or if he said, well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Age 7, we're having troubles. Yeah, I'll let it go. So one of them could make that adjustment to make their relationship less worrisome to me, but I doubt that's going to happen, so let's watch.
It's not that simple because I'm not Muslim.
If the child will be raised in the spirituality that Yve believes in, it's going to end up with the kid drinking alcohol and dating and doesn't know what he should do.
Well, yeah. I mean, regardless, the kid is going to be an American kid and will, as a teenager, say at 17, will probably drink alcohol on average. Not that that's a good idea, but it happens, and will probably be dating as well. What if the kid's gay? I don't know. There's so many questions. He says doesn't know what he should do, which I don't think is automatic, obviously. It's not like without Islam, people don't know what to do with themselves. So let's see how they talk about this.
Yve was raised with, let's say, too much freedom. And I don't think that she's going to be a good behavior for my child.
Okay, so we can interpret that a few different ways. One way is the anti-Mohamed way, which is that he's saying that she grew up with too much freedom, meaning she needs to be controlled, and I'm going to control her, which is abusive language and worrisome, and would kind of be in line with some of the things he said before. On the other, more charitable interpretation of what he's saying is that, according to him, and maybe she would even agree with this, who knows, that in her childhood there might have been a lot of neglect or lack of supervision or something. She's in my generation, she's around my age, and on average, my generation were known for their lack of supervision in the 70s and 80s to some extent. And I can attest to that. My parents loved me and were there for me, but all of us kids in the neighborhood were basically like wild children that just roamed the woods of the Sammamish Plateau. And as soon as we woke up, we went outside, and our parents literally had no idea where we were until it was dinner time sometimes later. And I'm talking when we were 4 years old. I'm not talking when we were 12. I'm saying 4 years old, I would disappear with my friends, because there was a lot of kids in my neighborhood, and we would go far and wide. I mean, we would literally go into the woods at age like 7 or 8 and try to get lost in the wilderness because we thought it was fun to try to find our way back to civilization. And one time we came upon this creepy old house, like Blair Witch Project style, where it was in the middle of nowhere. There was no road that went to it. I think it was all overgrown. A total haunted mansion in the middle of nowhere. And we found our way back to civilization, and we always tried to find that house. We could never find it. Although there was a meadow nearby that I still think about. When people say go to your happy place, I think about that meadow near that creepy old house. I mean, not exactly, but... So anyway, it's possible that she would even agree, or at least he has reasons to believe that she had too much freedom and thus went down some destructive roads for herself, and he wants to not do that for his child. And okay, so I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's the controlling interpretation, or this other interpretation, or maybe another one? He says she had too much freedom.
In this point, let me be very straight with you. If my child will not be a Muslim, I prefer not to have a child.
Okay, that's another option, and he is being flexible around that. He's saying, look, the child, if this is going to be a problem, maybe we shouldn't have a kid, and that would solve our problem, and we could be together. It's kind of what he's saying. You could have said it nicer along those lines. So, yeah, That is, so it's, let's see what she says.
I don't think that's fair for you to say. I am definitely shocked. Ultimately, I want our child to be able to pick.
She says it's not fair. And it's only unfair if he said something different otherwise. So I don't know. I don't think that's likely, but who knows? She's not pointing that out. And then she says she's shocked by it, which I don't know that much about his culture, but I know enough to suspect that that would likely be a stipulation in marriage and in having kids with him. There are a lot of people in my town of Seattle that are like that. There are people who say, my kid will be my religion, and there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When they're an adult, they can choose, but they're going to go to church or mosque or synagogue with me every Sunday, and that's just the way it's, or whatever they go, and that's just the way it's going to be. So she's saying she's shocked, and there's been a lot of moments like this where she seems surprised that he comes from a different culture. That makes me wonder if she had a lot of wishful thinking, because it's not like she's stupid or something. She's smart. So why would she go into denial about something that seems so obvious to the rest of us? I mean, we wouldn't know what Mohamed, how he felt about these things, but we wouldn't be shocked. I'm not shocked in the least, honestly. As he's saying that, I'm a little shocked by that attitude, because I don't hear that often, but I'm like, well, yeah, of course. I mean, there are lots of people. I would guess most people around the planet, if not 90% people around the planet, want to raise their children according to their traditions and are extremely rigid about that. So the fact that she's shocked, why would she be shocked that she would not pay attention or imagine that? And it makes me think that she has wishful thinking denial. When we are desperate for something to be true, we will ignore all evidence that contradicts it. I think Darcy would do this sometimes. And I mean, she's not anything like Darcy, but along these lines, maybe she is.
What they want to believe in at some point. And I don't think that he has a realistic perspective on that. So I don't know whether I am okay with this.
There's that passive language again. I don't know if I'm okay with that. Is that really? You don't know? You're literally, you don't know? What's the capital of Portugal? Do you literally just, I don't know the answer to that question? Or is that your passive way of saying, I'm not okay with this? And people don't become passive for no reason. They become passive because they're forced to be that way as children. So there's that, but I don't know. We're just hearing more of that passive language, which is going to harm everyone concerned. If she can't state what she wants, and you could argue that he's intimidating or aggressive in his language at the very least, that makes her less likely to tell him what she wants, but it doesn't look that way to me. He's just calmly saying, this is what I want. I am this way, and this is the way, or no deal. And then she will say stuff like this, and I'm guessing that up until this point, there's a lot of evidence of this, or minor evidence of this, that up until the beginning of this season, she was even more passive in the past, that he would say things along these lines or indicate or hint at things like this, and she would just go along with it, thinking, I'm not okay with that, but I'm sure things will work out, or something like that. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it. You really, really do.